Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2025 release Little Bites. It's a Shudder exclusive and it's coming to Shudder on Friday, February 21st, so this is a no spoiler review. Now, this one is written and directed by Spider-One, and some people may be like, Spider-One, Spider-One, that sounds familiar. Lead singer of of the movie, jeez, it's one of those days, of the band, we're gonna get there. Lead singer of the band Powerman 5000, also brother to Rob Zombie, so also doing music, getting into film just like Rob Zombie. I had reviewed a film by Spider-One called Allegoria, which was also on Shudder some years ago, which I thought was pretty decent. That was a anthology film, but he also did Bury the Bride, which I have not seen. This one has Barbara Crampton, Chaz Bono, and Heather Langenkamp in not like really big roles, but they're in there, like some roles. Now, synopsis of this one. Oh, again, Shudder exclusive coming Friday, February 22nd. I like to say that a second time. So, quick synopsis on this one. This is basically about a woman who has a child who hasn't been living with her for a while, staying with her grandmother, because she's having issues. And the issue being a monster that is living in her basement, in a very dark room in her basement, who has been taking little bites of her. Basically, she is feeding small bites of herself to this monster in order to keep the monster away from her daughter. And she's also keeping her daughter outside of the house. So it's this messed up arrangement that she has. And that's not spoilery because A, it's in the trailer, and B, it happens immediately in the film, which honestly I wish they had not gotten to that super fast. I wish they had kind of like established the characters first, like have the girl, the daughter in the house at first, and then maybe have the monster show up and then go through the ordeal of the mom trying to figure out the relationship with this monster and like how she can offer little bites of herself. I just kind of feel like where we picked up in the storyline of what's going on isn't the best film in my opinion, and starting it a lot earlier in what was going on here would have been significantly more interesting in my opinion. So to start it immediately where a lot of the conflict has already happened and you already know what's been going on, and a lot of kind of like the surprise is gone, and the thing is, like, you can really see where this film is going to go. Most people watching this, you'll know exactly where this is headed. There's some fun on the way, but for the most part I was just kind of like So although the opening sequence is slow, it does have a kind of chilling portion to it. So they do have a few moments with this film, mainly in the beginning between the mother and the monster, that is kind of chilling. It's kind of set up really well. It has really good atmosphere to it, disturbing, creepy. I like that to it. Unfortunately, as the film goes on, first of all, we still have a bunch of those kind of like really slow moments like it started out in the beginning of the film, but we also have way too many interactions between the mother and the monster. Well, the monster's name's Aguiar. I'll just refer to him as Aguiar. So we have too many interactions between them, and they get to be like a little too buddy, and they get like, it gets to a point where like the relationship doesn't feel right for what this movie is. You want the stakes to be a lot higher. You want things to be a lot more intense, and their interactions are so long and drawn out that you get bored with it, and then Aguiar ends up seeming like not that bad and like not that scary. And also the actual design of the creature Aguiar is not that interesting too. That's just another problem with the film, but a lot of issues here, unfortunately. But I like that little, chilling moment in the beginning. They set up the premise quickly, which is an interesting premise. That's the thing. I'm saying that they're not starting the story at the right place for making a compelling enough movie, but the idea behind this is good. I love the idea. I just think that the script needed to be fleshed out better, in my opinion. And, this is where we get to one of those issues of not everyone who's good at directing is good at writing, and not everyone who's good at writing is good at directing. So maybe sometimes it should be separate, or at least be collaborative in one of those areas if it's the lesser of the strengths. So with Spider-One, I think maybe bringing on a writing partner in the future, at least, or just directing someone else's stuff, because it looks good. Like, the film looks good. It's shot well. You can tell that he does a good job with blocking and everything. So there's not a problem from an aesthetic standpoint. The dialogue does tend to over-explain what's going on in the film, which gets very annoying because as an audience member, you're smart enough to know what's happening. So to stay with these scenes, to be kind of painstakingly explained to like you're a child, it just feels very insulting as an audience member. And you're like, yeah, I got it. I already know what's going on here. Like, you don't need to then explain it to me. It literally feels like Spider-1 is like grabbing you by the hand and like, crouching down like you do with kids and being like, okay, well, let me explain to you what's going on right now. And it's just like, stop. Show more, say less. And that's one of the big issues with this. Going back to the writing issue. The movie kind of feels stuck and spinning its wheels early on. A lot of films will end up doing that kind of like in the middle, and then they kind of like pick back up momentum because they know where they're going at the end. But this one, early on, it's like it's stuck. In the middle, it's like it's stuck. At the end, it's like it's stuck. This should have been a short film. Like, it's way too long, and I think it's like an hour and 40 some. I think it's like an hour and 46 minutes with credits and everything. But it's just way too long for what it is. The pacing is terrible with this film for that reason, because it's just all these long, overdrawn, super wordy scenes that you don't need. And how long it is, and how much dialogue there is, and how much they tell you, and how repetitive the scenes are, is way too much for the very thin story that we have here. The story needed to be fleshed out a lot more before even starting the script, in my opinion. That's just me. They also keep hammering the same information to you over and over and over again. And again, you're just like, I get it. Like, let's move on. Let's get going here. I think this could be a lot better as a short film, maybe like half hour, maybe a little bit less than that. The acting is decent. I did enjoy the acting for the most part. There are a few roles that are a little bit more shaky, but decent acting for the most part. The score is relatively simple and for the most part relatively restrained. I like the score. I like what it added to the film. Felt appropriate, and how it was used was appropriate. Interactions between the mother and the monster make the situation feel a lot less tense and disturbing. Talked about that. Less would have been more in this case. Yep. Pacing's bad. Monster design's bland. Yeah, just very bland. Very bland monster design. With something like this, and they show the monster early on too, but with something like this, if you're going to have it especially be this kind of boring, you need a really cool looking monster design. And this one just seemed like someone just like, I don't know, let's just make it look like an old person, kind of. That's just like a little more messed up. Like, There is a good theme here. The theme, like the underlying theme of what they're trying to say with this film, the subtext to it, is good. I like where they were trying to go, but the execution is so boring and it's so on the nose that you're just like, people have done this better before, unfortunately. So it's one of those movies where you watch it and you're just like, what is this adding? Like, what are we doing here? Like, how is this its own unique thing? And it just feels kind of blah. Very unfortunate. But I will say, I really loved Barbara Crampton's performance in this. She plays a Child Protective Services person, and she does a great job. She's always great. She's always like really enjoyable in her roles. So I really liked her. So anyway, Little Bites, out of 5 stars, half stars in play. I'm gonna give it a 1.5 star rating. Thought about going 2 because it's not like a horrible film, but there's just not enough there, and it's just boring, and the pacing's just terrible. So 1.5 stars for this one, unfortunately. But would love to hear your opinions, especially if you liked it. And what am I missing? What do you what did you grab out of it that I obviously did not? Go ahead and put that in the comments. Also, do me a favor and support me by hitting the thumbs up on this video to help with that YouTube algorithm. Hitting subscribe if you haven't already. For those who have, thank you very much. You can pitch in a little bit of dough if you want to. I do have memberships for the channel for a very small fee per month for some perks with the channel. That's linked in the description. And you can hit the notification bell button if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, thank you very much for taking your time to watch this. And until next time, keep it brutal.